Welcome to a live edition of Small Business Celebration Meat and Potatoes. We're here at the, you know, you can definitely tell I'm live because I'm totally out of practice on this. Usually on the main show we get to edit this stuff out, but not so much here on the live show. We are going to be talking about this. We're going to be talking today on how to improve yourself as a business leader as you lead yourself from employee number 2. Yes, most business owners, they're just fine with getting the first employee, but you yourself have to change. And do we really want to, or how do we do that? Well, we're going to learn from this week's guest, Sue Watson, the owner of Business Initiatives. Welcome to Small Business Celebration Meat and Potatoes.
Hi, Michael. Thanks for having me here. Thanks for having me back.
Come back. Actually, you're on the line. This makes you like the 3rd timer club.
Yeah, good for me.
Well, and Visionaries, if you're not familiar with the way Meat and Potatoes works, we actually take this episode to do a deep dive. We ask our guests to come back, usually from the main show, to go ahead and do that deep dive that we're able to talk more about here that we're not able to do on our pre-recorded show on the main show. And Sue, for Visionaries who don't know who you are you and what's it that you do?
Yeah, I'm a business consultant. I specialize in strategic planning, strategy, and the development of leaders. And of course, those two things go pretty much hand in hand.
Right.
So I'm looking to develop leaders, to develop strategies, to grow their businesses, scale their businesses.
And
off
for
the chart scale.
There we go. Off the charts. We like the hockey stick.
Yeah,
as far as things go.
Yeah, pretty much.
How do you help business owners do that?
By giving them a basic philosophy of leadership, and then developing the strategy to go with their business. So the basic philosophy is we want them to start with the end in mind, and we want that end to be big enough to pull them out of bed in the morning and make them a little bit uncomfortable, and then we work out how to get there. So it's not unusual for businesses working with me to double their revenues and hopefully more than double their profits in their first year of working.
For a lot of business owners, they start the business, and they hire that first employee because they need that one person to fix or to pick up the slack in this one area. But their business changes a lot when they get to that second employee. Why has it changed so much?
Yeah, probably because they haven't started with that end in mind. So ideally, business owners should start with how they're going to sell this business. And it doesn't matter whether they want to sell it or not.
Right.
But if they have that thought in their mind that in 5 years I'd like this business to be sellable, they'll already start thinking differently about their business.
Give us an example.
Thank you, Michael. Give you an example.
Well, what's one of the things that a business owner, especially a new business owner, doesn't think about the end goal in mind?
Well, if you go back to for example, the E-Myth, which was very popular in its day.
Right.
The E-Myth suggests, and I think that this is still true today, that a lot of people who start businesses have the craft.
Right.
And they want to do something with the craft. They might see their bosses making lots of money, or they might be frustrated working in that kind of an environment anymore.
Right.
So they think they can do better, so they have the craft, and then they take that into business, but they don't have the business expertise.
Right.
Right. So again, if they think, even if they don't have any intention, if they act as if they wanted that business ready to sell in 5 years' time, they would do things differently, and they would set a foundation and the philosophy for faster growth.
There is the well-worn adage of working on your business, not in your business. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
So when employee number 2 comes along, is that part of the growth of the realization that I am no longer the trinket maker, I'm no longer the chef in the kitchen? It's that mental shift that, oh my gosh, now I've got to work on something bigger than what I was doing before. Yeah,
well most businesses, we need to have a mindset shift, all of us, to be successful, or a continual mindset shift in order to level up our businesses, go next level with our business. But for that business owner that's just got himself or herself and 1 or 2 employees maybe, it's a massive mindset shift because they're used to control and they think that they can handle things like service, customer experience, profitability if they hold on to the control. So that's some of the hardest things for an owner to hand off is, if I'm not doing it, are they going to do it as well as I could do it, or as well as I am doing it?
Visionaries, we couldn't do this episode without our presenting sponsor, which is brought to you by Oliver & Associates. At Oliver & Associates Real Estate, we know that buying or selling a home isn't just a transaction, it's a life moment. That's why they're committed to building relationships that last. They take the time to truly understand your needs, your dreams, and your story so they can find you not just a house, but a home. Give Oliver & Associates a call at 661-808-3444 or check them out at yourrealtor.us. That's 661-808-3444 or check them out at yourrealtor.us today. Today's Meat and Potatoes live episode location is brought to you by Modern Gigi Gallery, an ultra-modern art gallery located in downtown Bakersfield, California, featuring the artworks of the modern abstract artist Johnny Ramos. Whether you're looking for artwork for your office, your home, or a postcard that you can send as a thank you note, go to Modern Gigi Gallery, located at 900 18th Street in Bakersfield, or give them a call at 661-840-8729, or email them at art@moderngigi.com today. Today, we're here with Sue Watson, the owner of Business Initiatives, and you were talking about, okay, I'm the chef in the kitchen, and now I'm going through, and now I'm actually having to run a business that I wasn't prepared for. A big part of that is hiring the right people.
Yeah, absolutely. But before you hire, the first thing that you need to do is start documenting the processes.
Really?
Yeah. And a startup owner will often say, I don't have a process.
Right.
They do, but the process is in their head.
Right.
So they have to try and get that down into something that's replicable for somebody that they're hiring to take and run with.
Right. I can tell you I made that mistake.
Okay.
Because the very first person I hired, I just automatically assumed they knew what I knew.
That's right.
You know, and then when they floundered, it wasn't their fault, it was mine.
Yeah, it's always the owner's fault, by the way.
Right.
Because if it isn't, you're giving your power away to something that's not within your control.
Right.
So if you say, oh, what did I do wrong, then you can actually start to do something differently.
How do you encourage, or what kind of a system do you help a business owner do to create that standard operating procedure or that SOP? So, because I'm guessing you use that to figure out the kind of person you need to hire.
No, there's a couple of steps. Like, first off, most of the businesses that I work with are beyond that first step stage, or that first and second step stage. But I would say once you start documenting, and you want as many processes, particularly the things that you do a lot the same as. Right? So if you find yourself doing the same thing every day, or at least every week, you want to make sure that that's documented so that you can hand it off. So that's the first step. The second step is you want to hire for specific roles. Okay. You don't want to hire, you just actually said it wrong already, Michael.
Okay.
Imagine that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I have you.
So in the beginning, you don't want to hire someone just to like fix and take stuff off your hands.
Right.
You want to hire according to the bottleneck. So wherever your bottleneck is, so if it's operations, you want to hire somebody that can execute and take you out of that overwhelm. Right. If you don't have enough clients, you might want to hire for that sales process. Right. So you're hiring to meet to break the bottleneck. Right. Really.
You mentioned that you were talking about having the end in mind. Yeah. And you were just talking about, okay, this is that first or second employee. Yeah. But for some business owners, it's kind of a scary initial indication that, okay, the end in mind might be 10, 15, 20 employees. Yeah. How do you go through and figure out your systems so that 5 years down the road, when you are at employee 5, 10, 15, 20, and especially when they're starting to need a lot of what you do, how do you help them get there? How do you help them plan that out?
Yeah, so if they're again, I like to think of a 5-year exit. Okay. Because that'll actually speed up their growth in the first 2 or 3 years. Okay. Or, some of them might be at 5 years before they get to that second employee.
True.
But then they've wasted an opportunity because what they're doing is exactly like you said, they're working in their business a ton and not on their business.
Right.
So they're missing all of the opportunities for growth that are showing up for them along the way.
What's some of the red flags that a business owner needs to pay attention to that says, you really need to start planning to have somebody else take care of that, what that bottleneck is?
A red flag is if you're spending too much time in your business and not enough time on your strategizing and vision for your business. And again, that's kind of a common flaw or place, a pitfall, because they're bringing a skill set or an experience or a knowledge or a background into a business that they're not necessarily ready to ramp up. So again, if you start with the end in mind, or what I would do with them, is I would help them see what's possible in their business. So just as you're a visionary, I'm inventing possibilities with people daily. And that's kind of fun, because then they start seeing, I have somebody right now that wants to start a business.
Right.
And she said, and I did this exercise with her, why do you want your own business? She said, I want job security. Unfortunately, so many businesses go under in the first 5 years. But if she really wants job security, she has to know, why does she want job security? She's got a young child. She wants a young child to be well educated. She wants a young child to have things that she wasn't able to have when she was growing up. So you're taking it away from the meat and potatoes of the business and into, why are we doing this? Why are we getting up in the morning? And then we don't get up to go to work.
No.
Yeah. We may get up to be of service. I think you and I can both relate to that. But we don't get up to go to work. So if it's service of our family, service of our community, service of individuals, but it's generally something bigger than money, honestly.
For the visionaries who don't know, some of the clients you've had.
Yeah.
Because they sit there and go, oh, well, I'm just on Michael's little YouTube channel. And who are some of the clients that you've had?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Well, I do have some pretty small local businesses. I have no problem working with a one-man show if they're ambitious, if they're fun, if they're nice to work with. I've also, Michelin is a client of mine.
The tire company.
The tire company.
Sure, yeah.
Their corporation heads out of France, obviously, or maybe you didn't know that. I was working with a company that was owned by Siemens and Macquarie, which is a big Australian company. I do have a company in Australia. They took me out there last year. So I have some big ones, local big ones. Kaiser Permanente has been an on-off client for a while. Coca-Cola was one of my clients for a while.
Pacific West Sound.
Pacific West Sound, yeah, some of the good local guys as well.
So you're able to take from experience, seeing what some of these larger companies do from the inside, and bring that to visionaries and say, okay, your 5-year plan, if you want to fast track it, you need to do this. When you go through and you help them figure that out, just as a general outline, what are some of the things that you're looking for the visionary that wants to do that fast track in 5 years?
I'm not quite exactly sure. I'll share my process with you. And it's a fairly quick process. If the biggest challenge that people is not knowing what they want. If if an owner knows what he wants, if an owner knows he wants to take it to, 5 million in year one. I have a client now I'm working with. He's a great guy. He was fired from a big transport company in Dallas. And he started his own business. He knew he wanted to make money, he wanted to be a good provider for his family. And he said, okay, where do I start? So he got set up, and it took him a little while, probably 6 months to get into the swing of it. He determined, I want my Yelp reviews, and he worked with me more or less from day one. I want my Yelp reviews to be all good. I want every review to be really good. I want a reputation of service and customer excellence. He did $350,000 in his first year.
Wow.
Barely broke even, honestly. Because he had a couple of employees straight off the bat. He did 1.1 in his second year. And this year he told me he was heading for 4 million, and I told him it wasn't big enough. And I'm proving right because he's done 850 and we're not even at the end of February already.
Well done, you.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, so that kind of growth is possible. You kind of got to hang on for the ride a little bit, and you're going to make mistakes.
Right.
But you want to make mistakes early on because they're not going to cost you as much.
They're cheaper.
Yeah.
They're cheaper.
Yeah.
Now, Visioneers, if you've been watching the main show, you know that we like to play the Visioneer game. And for the live show, yeah, it's no different. We have a game for Sue, and Sue is already, we call it the fortune cookie game. And if you're not familiar with the way... Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so this is the sealed fortune. I have not broken it open, so go ahead and open it up.
Okay, if I don't like it, I'm going to just eat the cookie. And head out the door.
There you go. I really need to get a drum roll for this.
All right, so
All right.
I say it again. I do this, and then I say, in my business.
Yeah, in your business at the end of the fortune.
In my business.
Right.
Yeah, I love this. I love this.
Okay.
Surround yourself with kindness and beauty in your business.
How so?
Because if you're not looking after people and treating people really well, you're not going to get the best out of them. And people don't realize the extent of the truth of that statement. So yeah, we always want to have kindness and beauty in our businesses.
And it all starts with what you can do for your employees.
Yeah, and then can I just say one
Sure,
more thing?
yeah.
So that leads me to, once you've got your hiring in place and you do start to grow, you did touch on what happens when they've got 20, 25 employees.
Right.
That's when they really want to start developing the leadership team. But as soon as you start getting leaders in your business, start developing them and start developing them to take care of people.
Now, Visioneers, for those of you who've been watching the main show, there is somebody that's usually hiding behind the camera. It's producer Emily. And producer Emily is one of these people, she is the 180 degrees opposite of me in so many different ways. And she's been a big part of the reason the show has been successful and has grown. And because in the main show, she'll ask questions of the guests that I just cut half of my stuff out and put her stuff in, because her questions are incredibly insightful. To the point,
this is where my test.
This is where your test comes in, exactly. And to that, we've given Emily, producer Emily, her own segment called Questions by Emily.
And Questions by Emily is sponsored by Casdor Consulting Group. Hunting for top-tier talent for your business? Look no further than Casdor Consulting Group. Their mission is to deliver world-class staffing and direct hire services by truly listening to your needs. At Casdor Consulting, it's not just about filling positions, it's about creating a culture of mutual success for both candidates and clients. With unmatched customer service and a commitment to earning your trust, they're redefining the staffing industry one placement at a time. Ready to experience the future of staffing? Visit CasdorConsultingGroup.com or call them at 877-800-4622. That's CasdorConsultingGroup.com or 877-800-4622. And let's build your legacy together.
Hello, Visioneers. Welcome to Questions by Emily. I'm Emily. I've got questions, and if you've got questions, I have the live chat open right now. So anytime, feel free to chime in with any of your questions. We already have somebody saying, absolutely fascinating woman. Love her response to the fortune cookie.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
So my first question actually is kind of going back to basics. What's the difference between a consultant and a coach? Do you do both? Do you do one or the other?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm probably both. A coach, for myself, I believe in transformation rather than education. So a coach will maybe show you how to do it. What I try to do is ask the right questions so that you discover for yourself what you're doing.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you're more of a consultant then?
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah. So then, what prompted you to become a consultant? Where does one start? Because often, I mean, you've probably heard those who don't do teach.
Yeah.
I think that can go either way. But did you have a business beforehand, or did you just say, one day, I'm really good at this, I'm going to consult?
Yeah. So it's interesting, isn't it, how your present is formed by things that happened in the past that might just happen willy-nilly in the past. So my background is civil engineering, and I was civil engineering. I was in South Africa.
Oh, wow.
And my husband at the time, he's deceased now, but at the time he was doing a correspondence degree from the University of South Africa in business.
Oh, goodness.
And he didn't like it, and I loved it. So I did his degree, he got the degree on the wall, and I got all the experience of it. But so the civil engineering background makes me very pragmatic and kind of commonsensical in a way. And then I come from a family of entrepreneurs, so I always had a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit.
Oh.
So I had a couple of businesses for a couple that I was running simultaneously, and people would come and ask me, hey Sue, how did you do that, or what did you do there? And then, interestingly, two young friends of mine had strokes, and I decided, okay, I'm going to slow things down a little bit, and I took myself out, and I had a year's sabbatical, and I developed a stress management program, right?
Yeah.
So then one of my friends said, well, it's time you went back to work, so he said, I've set you up with an interview with my business, and he worked for a company called Eskom in South Africa, which was the sole provider of electric services. Wow. So it was a huge company, and they loved me, and I got to start there. So, Michael was asking what businesses have I worked with. Telkom is the telephone network in South. It was the one, and Eskom was the electric network, and it was the one. And they both took a liking to me. So I headed out right in the beginning in big businesses.
So you had kind of seen a bunch of different businesses, and you said, I think I have enough knowledge about business in general to go ahead and help people, even if I haven't helped a tire company, I can still do the process. That was kind of how your brain works.
The process is all the same. So when I'm starting with a business, obviously I'm interested in their business, but they know their business. So I don't do their business. I give them the business piece of it to help their business scale. So the business is business. It doesn't matter what kind of a business you're in.
So what's the one question you find that people, all business owners, you have them ask themselves?
But I have them ask themselves.
Yeah.
What I'll tell them is to stay in the inquiry. So, and you may have heard me say that to Michael just now, is you always take responsibility for everything. So if you're unhappy with anything in your business, look in the mirror and ask yourself, what could I do differently? So that's the question, is like, what could you do differently? What is the outcome that you want? And what could you do differently, or what can you now do for that outcome?
I see. So it's always questioning oneself for what can I change?
Yeah.
That would be the one question that entrepreneurs across the board.
Yeah, be in an inquiry, right? So if my client in Dallas wants to reach $6 million this year and not $4 million, is how do I do that? And now what people tend to do naturally is they go, well, I can't, that would be too hard. You don't know what the market's like. I don't care what the market's like.
Yeah.
What I care about is what do you want, and what actions do we need to take together to get you there?
Yeah, your inputs are a result of your outputs, and vice versa, right?
Yeah.
What we put in is what we get out.
But people forget what they want, right? Because they get stuck in that conversation for a poor market, or political climate, or administration change, or whatever it is. They get stuck in that. What they need to get stuck in is the significance of the vision that they say is super important. And if I can get them hooked onto their own vision, then I'm halfway there.
What do you say to the person who knows they're an entrepreneur, they know wholeheartedly, I meant to have my own business, I just don't know what?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that are, they bounce back and forth, and some of it might be shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
But other times it's like they genuinely know they're meant for business, they just don't quite know what they want? How do you help guide them?
I can't, honestly. I can't really. I could guide them to companies that will help them determine what kind of personality they are. I can do a little bit of that, but it's not where my heart is. I can help them go and discover what they're really good at, what they're not very good at, and go and have them, you know, research. I'm in ChatGPT, I've got these interests, right? I've got these interests, I'm this old, and I want to make this much money. And give me 20 suggestions. ChatGPT will do that for you.
Oh, wow.
It really will. But the problem is they have to have a little bit of a passion for it, otherwise they're probably not going to do well. But I think the biggest problem for most of mankind is they don't know what they want. Once we know what we want, we can generally work out how to get it.
And that is kind of the biggest question, is what do I want?
Yeah.
And then how do I get there? But it's the what do I want.
Yeah, how to get there is relatively easy. It's joining the dots.
Yeah, because it's easier to figure out what we don't want.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things we don't want definitively, but not a lot of what we do want definitively.
Right.
Yeah, which I'm sure you see.
And even if it's money, it's okay. If you only want money, then research businesses that will get, you know, you can go and speak to a business broker, find out what businesses are for sale.
Oh,
I work with people that buy businesses as well. You know, have a look at franchise lists.
Wow.
So there's all kinds of things that you can do.
So there's a whole bunch of ways if someone wants to be an entrepreneur that they can jump into it.
Yeah.
They
You know, Chick-fil-A, for example. Chick-fil-A only costs about 10 grand for the franchise fee, and they'll pay all of the setup fees up to like a couple of $1 million
Oh my gosh.
to set up. But then they're the owner of the franchise. You're not. You don't have equity in it. The profit is you have to give 50% of the profit to Chick-fil-A. You can start a business like Chick-fil-A for $10,000. There's catches. It's not awesome. You don't have equity in it.
No, but it's still something.
But my point is, there's all kinds of everything for everybody. But you got to, excuse me, get off your butt a little bit and do some research, and then decide what it is that you want. Yeah. But if you know what you want, it's much easier.
So I'm going back to the episode you did with Michael in 2023. You talked about journaling.
Okay.
And the importance of that. And I know sometimes it's hard for business owners to slow down and to really get in tune with what they want.
Yeah.
What are some maybe unpleasant habits or the things that force us to slow down that really are purposeful?
Yeah, get up early in the morning. That's my time. Is I normally get up between 5 and 6. 6 is a late morning for me, even on weekends. I'll do my vitamin routine, and then I'll get my cup of coffee. I'll sit down with my coffee, and every day I either journal or meditate for at least 15 minutes. Mainly, actually, lately it vacillates between those two, journal or meditation. And I listen to at least 15 minutes of something like a business book or a finance book or a podcast for at least 15 minutes, or I'll read at least 10 pages of a book. But I'm always interested in my own growth as well. How can I give my best unless I am propagating my own best?
And how do you do that? As a business coach, how do you coach yourself?
Well, that's how I coach myself.
Consult.
Yeah.
That's how.
No, I do all kinds. I spend a lot of money on my own development every year.
Really? And would you recommend that to business owners?
Sure. Yeah, you can spend some on me if you want. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, you can plug your own business.
No, absolutely. I have a client in Utah that's probably working like 4 or 5 consultants at the same time for different things.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and the more you invest in yourself, what you put in is what you get out, right?
If visionaries want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Yeah, give me a call. My telephone number is 661-301-7162, 661-301-7162, or my website, businessinitiatives.com, more than one initiative, businessinitiatives.com, or you can email me at sue@businessinitiatives.com. And that's just one word, by the way, business initiatives.
Oh, we do have one more question.
Sorry,
everyone. We have one more question that slipped on through. Last question. It says, if an owner of a small business has children they promise to turn the business over to, but refuse to follow through. What should the children do? Is there an off-ramp? And I'm sure in some ways you have to consult people. I mean, you talk about the 5-year plan, the 10-year. How do you get people to stay with the word?
It's really hard for business owners to give the business back to their kids. So, and it would take me, you know, a little bit more discovery to work out exactly what's going on. But most business owners, you need an agreement. Even in terms of a timeline for somebody's exit, you need to have an agreement in place that you can hold somebody to. But even then, you know, they can renege on that agreement. But that's what I would recommend. Some parents don't want to let go of their businesses because it's their security, it's their baby, they've developed it, and it's hard for them to give up that control.
Yeah, and I'm sure for the thing that they did over and over again, it would be hard to
that
give up their daily routine, really.
That would be a good client for me though, because I like helping with facilitating those kind of conversations. Yeah, I like to do the difficult stuff.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, with that, do we need to press a button? Oh, we have a great episode this week.
So Visioneers, if you haven't checked out the main show episode, check out the owner of Mauricio's Grill and Cantina. It's a fantastic episode where we go through and we talk about a whole variety of things, including advice, how to reduce overtime and make your business more efficient. So if you haven't checked out this week's episode on Small Business Celebration, do so. And until next week, when we come back next Monday for another Meat and Potatoes episode between 5:30, preferably 5, we'll see you then where you can learn and check us out so that you can learn something that you can use today to grow a strong and profitable business and get your next big breakthrough. Thank you.